All right, what is up, everybody? This is going to be fairly quick. Getting back into the flow of things here on Death by Dynasty. Tyler's usually with me as well. We're going to run through an updated injury report. Excuse me. And we're going to get you ready for week 8. We're going to help you win your fantasy football leagues. You can ask us any start sits in the chat. Going to put that in right here. Guys, Philadelphia's full focus is now back on the Philadelphia Eagles. It was Red October. We were, also big time in on the Phillies. So Death by Dynasty is getting back in the flow here. But ask us any start sit questions in the chat. I'm going to put that in here. I say us. It's really just me. Tyler will certainly be back, but like I said, getting back in the flow of things here. All right. Really quick, big one kind of, depending if you are a Josh Palmer owner and if you are considering playing him in your flex position, he is a game time decision for Sunday Night Football, which is never a great thing when it comes to fantasy football. It's never you don't ever want to have a game time decision. But regardless, I do think he's going to play. If you have another option, he is apparently, like, the team is very positive. They think he's probably going to play. He's more likely to play. But regardless, if you have another option, I would play that other option, depending who it is. But if someone similar to a Josh Palmer level, let's say you have a Curtis Samuel who's looked great, honestly, something like that, like maybe you could play him instead. If you have a Christian Watson, I'd consider playing Christian Watson instead. Christian Watson was a full participant in practice this week. Really curious to see what Christian Watson really is in the NFL, because he still has not really proven exactly what he is in the NFL. But regardless, I'm going to go through some more injury reports. I know Roschon Johnson is back now. I love Roschon Johnson. I love his future in the NFL. I got to say, Deontay Foreman was the RB1 last week. He was the RB1 last week. Excuse me while I hydrate. I got a softball game coming up here in not too long. Doubleheader today before the NFL games. All right. What do we got here? Let's take a look. Russell Wilson a little banged up, but he was a full participant in practice. Jaguars. Oh, by the way, so Zay Jones is back for the Jaguars. And it's like when Zay Jones plays, actually Calvin Ridley looks worse. You don't know what to do. Calvin Ridley has not been the wide receiver 1 there. You probably spent money on him as if he was going to be the wide receiver 1 there. Looked amazing in that week 1 performance where Christian Kirk didn't do anything. And then after that, it's been all Christian Kirk. It's been all Christian Kirk. And I think since like week 3, he's averaged 17.7 points. And he's a must start every single week. If you own Christian Kirk, he's a must start. And I love that because I own Christian Kirk. Big fan of Christian Kirk. I have him in a couple leagues. Calvin Ridley right now, you got to hold on to him. But honestly, like, if you're a rebuilding team or your season has not gone the way you thought your season was going to go in Dynasty or in redraft even, I would sell him. If your team is already in a really good position and you can keep winning games, whether he's in there or even can have him on your bench and you have good depth, you can go ahead and bench him. But honestly, like Calvin Ridley, I just thought that he was going to be better than this. I really did. And I don't know what his future holds, but he's 28 years old. It's not like crazy old for a wide receiver, but I mean, he's getting up there. He'll be turning 29 in December. And I just don't know if he's that valuable of an asset in fantasy football next season. We haven't really seen it this season. So if there's any sort of value attached to him right now, which there certainly is, he's still a talented wide receiver. He's had some issues dropping the ball. He's had some issues getting open, truthfully. But he's still, the thing is, you can still throw the ball up to him and he can still make insane catches. That's what you get with Calvin Ridley. And I also think it's just hard for him when he's getting all the attention from the defense. But that has really benefited Christian Kirk. That has truly benefited Christian Kirk. It's going to be interesting to see how defenses play them moving forward. But Christian Kirk is currently the wide receiver one there until I see something differently. And Calvin Ridley is a tough play right now. But Christian Kirk is a must play right now. All right. Oh, anyone important? All right. Kendrick Bourne was a full participant in practice. No one important there. Steelers. Looks like Deontay Johnson is not on the injury list. So he's good to go for week 8. Deontay Johnson, man. This guy still got some value. He's still a great flex play. If you look at what George Pickens has done while he's been gone, it's almost like George Pickens is still this up and down guy. I would say, I said in the beginning of the season, before the season even started, George Pickens is one of the most overrated assets in Dynasty Fantasy Football coming into the season. Tyler said he was the most underrated, one of the most underrated. I actually said he was he was in my top 5 most overrated Dynasty assets coming into the season. Dude has shown flashes of greatness, for sure. I think he benefits from George Pickens coming back. I think he benefits from Johnson coming back. But just that offense just has not looked good this entire season. And Kenny Pickett is not it. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. To be honest, never really thought he was. I followed when Kenny Pickett was in college. I covered Pittsburgh sports to a decent extent. Mostly covered NFL games. But when it comes to Pitt, I got to watch a lot of his highlights at the very least. A lot of times got to just sit there and watch him play a couple drives as well. Yeah, never really thought he was it, to be honest with you. Did look good, was worthy of being looked at the NFL level. But the competition he played wasn't that great. And I just don't think that he had the big play ability, even though he's got a pretty good arm. So, yeah, that offense is just bad. I don't think – see, here's the thing with George Pickens right now. Buying him, for me, is not a solution. I do like his future, but I think I've actually started to come around on him a little bit more as actually training camp went along, to be honest. I saw some video, and as the season has gone along too. I still think he's overvalued right now. I would not want to buy him right now at his current value, even though I like his future. I don't think he's a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. I think he's top 20, top 25. So if he's still being valued as a top 15 or so, then I think his value is a little bit too high. All right, let's see. Unfortunately, I do have to go pretty shortly here. We'll be doing these every single Sunday live for you to answer your starts and your sits. Every single Sunday, we're going to help you win your fantasy football league. A couple things. I do think Joe Burrow is still going to look good against the 49ers. I do think Herbert is going to have a big bounce back week on Sunday Night Football. I do think that this Eagles Washington game is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. That Eagles offense seemed like it's kind of coming back into form here. Jalen Hurts kind of back into form. Hey, Sam Howell looked really good against the Eagles in their first matchup. They're now at home. I kind of think that Washington offense is going to look pretty good. I kind of think that they are maybe going to start to get Jahan Dotson a little bit more involved in that offense. Jahan Dotson has not been very involved in that offense. That's number one for Jahan Dotson. And that's a red flag. Like, okay, that's either on them that they're not playing one of their more valuable offensive weapons, or it's a big red flag that they see him every single day in practice. What are they seeing that they're shying away from this guy? And do I still want to put value in him if they're not putting as much value in him? That's number one. Number two for me is a couple weeks ago. I forget which game it was. It could have been the Atlanta game, I think. Week 6. He was wide open, man. Wide open, which is awesome. He's got the speed. He's got the separation. And he dropped a wide open pass that would have been like a deep touchdown. It would have been a touchdown. I forget exactly how many yards it was. Let's say at least 40 yards. Let's say at least 30. But I think it was by the time he got that yak, at least 40 yards. So yeah, that was just really unfortunate, and that just like was a huge red flag for me because he was only targeted like twice in that game, and one of the targets would have been gotten him 10 fantasy points just in that target alone, probably. And he didn't make use of the opportunity. So that's tough to say he's going to get more opportunities. The very next week, he actually was a little bit more involved in the offense on some short passes. And I expect to see that a little bit more, and hopefully he'll kind of, get back into his own. He showed amazing flashes last season. And just didn't come up with it. Just hasn't turned it around, just hasn't showed it this season. All right, so let's see. Just gonna go through some more right here. What do we got? Oh yeah, Derek Carr is supposed to be back this week, if that means anything to anybody. Now hold up. Here we go. That's so funny because I was reading the wrong injury report and everything I said. I didn't actually really read it until I said that Derek Carr one. Derek Carr is going to be back this week, I do believe, but that's so funny because it was week 8 from last year, I think. And apparently Derek Carr was coming back for the Raiders. Or not Derek Carr. I see, this is why I'm messing up. I think, isn't Jimmy G supposed to be back this week? Jimmy G is supposed to be back this week. So, okay, so I'm fucking getting things confused because I was reading a week 8 injury report from last year, and it said Derek Carr was supposed to be back for the Raiders, and the Raiders are getting their starting quarterback back this week. And it's another very mediocre quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. If that means anything to anybody, either one of them doesn't really mean much to me. Hey, man, Jameis Winston is good for the NFL. Listen, wish we got some more start sits in the chat. You can feel free to send us more start sits. We usually get more in the chat. We get them on Twitter as well, at DBD Fantasy FB on Twitter, at DBD Fantasy FB on Twitter. So you can ask us all the start sit questions there as well. You can throw them in the comments as well. Today, like if you ask them today, we'll probably get to it just because I have to get off pretty soon here, but we'll probably get to it before the kickoff. But you might be waiting till like noon or a little bit after noon to get there. I do see a quick question. I can answer this for you, Nathan. Appreciate you. All right. Pick 2 wide receivers to start. Standard league. Josh Downs, Myers, Deontay Johnson, Rashee Rice, Flowers. Okay. I love the depth there. I also love Josh Downs. I think I have to pick Josh Downs Don't know what Johnson's going to look like just because it's his first week back. And the Ravens are playing the Cardinals team that, has been pretty abysmal. So I believe that I would go with the two young guys here, to be honest with you. Give me the rookies, Josh Downs and Zay. To be totally honest with you, I kind of skipped over Rice. Rice has shown that he's the wide receiver 1 on that Chiefs team. He has proven it. We were going into this season wondering, who is going to step up and be the wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs? Because it's Travis Kelce is the answer, really. But Rashee Rice has really proven himself. Another young guy. I go with my two kind of favorite young guys right now, just to watch and just to see them grow, and Josh Downs and Rashee Rice as well. I do think Zay Flowers is going to be heavily involved this week as well. Moving forward, Deontay Johnson's a play, but for this week, I just want to see that offense. That Steelers offense has just been tough. Rashee Rice has been very impressive. Clearly, Patrick Mahomes likes him. I do think he can score touchdowns in that offense, and that's huge. So, give me Josh Downs, give me Rashee Rice there. But I like that wide receiver depth for sure. Especially if you're in a dynasty league, you're pretty set up there. If those are kind of your flex guys or so. Appreciate you, Nathan. Feel free to go give us a subscribe. We'll do this every single Sunday to help you win your fantasy football leagues. Usually I'm with Tyler, getting back into the flow of things. Red October had us down, man. Red October had us down. We're back in on football, back in on the Eagles, back in on fantasy football. Unfortunately, I got to go win a couple softball games right now. Follow us on all social media, everybody. And this link, of course, you may be coming in and watching after. So feel free to comment any more starts and sits in the chat. Appreciate it, everyone.